Years, you have served as a spiritual director for one of our YAVs. Please stand up. If you are a YAV alum, whether from Albuquerque or one of our other sites, would you please show us some jazz hands? Wow. And if you have supported this program, whether with your dollars or with your energy, whether from up close or from a distance at some point in the last 5 years, give yourselves a hand. That should be every one of you. As we reflect on this journey of Albuquerque YAV to this point, we want to take a moment to hear about the origins of this program. And for that, I will turn it over to one of our founding board members, Nelson Capitan.
Okay, I'm going to bear with me. I'm not going to be as formal as Luke, but I'm going to talk about how the program started here and how it came to be. So here we go. Check it out. A long time ago, back in 2014, there were several former YAVs here in Albuquerque who finally said, hey, why can't Albuquerque, New Mexico become a YAV site? The pieces seemed to fit, given the culture and the landscape of this area. Soon they asked what will be the identity, what will be the context, and how will it really map out. One key component was using the YAV core tenets as a guide throughout the process. And then, how will this be presented to the YAV national office? It wasn't easy, but being persistent and committed has slowly evolved. Fortunately, part of that team at that time were Nicole Saffer and Drew Henry, both former international YAVs at Argentina. The vision was coming together. With lots of work and meetings, they had to find housing, working site partners, community partners, and our churches. All of which have been very supportive from the very beginning to this day. And then they had to identify the need for a full-time site coordinator, even though that was a hard sell to the YAV national office. But it worked out. And so it worked out. We finally got a position for a full-time YAV site coordinator. And I don't know, Luke, did you go to a call meeting this morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you guys probably didn't do this, but we haven't done this in a long time, but you remember Luke Long for the New Mexico Lobos? Remember that? So, okay, all on three. 1, 2, 3, Luke. Right? You guys do that this morning? Okay, one more time. We used to do it during meetings. 1, 2, 3, Luke. Okay. So we found a gem from Oregon. We found this kid from Oregon. We found a gym in the Northwest to be with us in the Southwest Desert. So here we are, keeping close to the core tenets of the YAV ideal. Having sustainability, having that support, having that commitment still, and working relations have made this journey last this far after 5 years. So in a nutshell, that's how it happened. So with the support of the Drews, the Nicoles, the Dennises, and all the pieces that came in between to finally kind of make it happen. And so I'm just so thankful that that happened for this YAV site to finally happen here now. Let alone Albuquerque compared to the Tucson, to the New York cities, to the other international YAV work sites. So I'm thankful, on your part for being part of this community to make it happen all these years. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Nelson. So what has Albuquerque YAV been up to over these past 5 years? There's a nice collection collage of pictures over here showing some of that journey with different YAV groups. 3 years we served as YAVs. We had to take a year off in the middle of pandemic, but we still offered space to 2 young adults that wanted to come to Albuquerque and learn and grow on their own. And then this is the year that we've come back from the pandemic. So over those 5 years, we lived in 2 different places. I say we. The YAVs have lived in 2 different places. I think it's gone. Over those 5 years, we've lived in 2 different places. First, starting at the Manal School, housed in Teachers Hall, able to build community amongst the Manal campus. And then for the past 3 years, across the street here as tenants for First Presbyterian Church. And we've worked on that partnership and created a space that can feel like home for YAVs in this community, within the neighborhood and within this part of East Downtown. Over the past 5 years, we've worked with 12 different work placement partners, nonprofit agencies, and churches, working on issues varying from environmental advocacy and creation care to immigration and refugee resettlement, education equality to poverty and food justice, housing and homelessness to community organizing. YAVs have attended 13 Presbytery of Santa Fe meetings, ranging from Albuquerque to Penasco, Santa Fe to Ghost Ranch to Taos, and of course over the last 2 years we've spent a lot of time on our computers. We've had 16 faithful board members that have walked with us on this journey from inception, accompanying YAVs and providing vision for how to move this program forward, especially in the past 2 years in unprecedented challenges and circumstances. YAVs have together as a group visited 16 different churches around the Presbyterian state, from Farmington to Dixon to Las Vegas to Las Placidas to Rio Rancho to our friends in the Presbytery de Cristo down in Silver City, sharing stories from the YAV experience and how this program has impacted them. Let's talk about those young adults. We've welcomed 17 young adults from 13 different states to come and be in this space that is very different from where they came, and yet offers an opportunity for growth, learning, transformation, and a chance to give to the local community in meaningful ways to meet the needs of local nonprofits. Those YAVs have gone on 21 different retreats, trips to Ghost Ranch, trips to the U.S.-Mexico borderlands in Douglas and Agua Prieta. We've built relationships with churches in northern New Mexico, been to silent retreats at the Norbertine Center, and been able to enjoy the hospitality with final retreats at Yates's Cabin outside of Las Vegas, up at Ghost Ranch, and up in Jemez Springs. One of the things that makes the Albuquerque YAV program unique is the fact that we pair each YAV with a spiritual director that they meet with once a month over the course of the year to walk alongside them on their journey of faith. And so over those past 5 years, YAVs have gone to 165 hours of spiritual direction. Grateful for the opportunity to, yes. Thank you, spiritual directors. And finally, friends, over the past 5 years, YAVs have served 21,981 hours of service. That is 21,981 hours with local nonprofits, agencies, and churches giving to this community. Let's pause for a moment. Our Albuquerque young adult volunteers have gone on to serve as educators, medical students, nonprofit employees, dance teachers, business consultants, youth directors, coaches. Some Albuquerque YAVs have stayed in New Mexico, some have returned home. Each of them have been changed and transformed. Today we have the privilege of hearing from our current Albuquerque YAVs as they share stories from their own journeys of transformation and growth. We're going to begin with Savannah. Savannah, yeah, well, yay! Savannah is originally from the DC area of Northern Virginia and has served this year at a dual site placement, splitting time between Second Presbyterian Church and the Santa Fe Dreamers Project. Savannah?
I kind of want to put on one of these special hats to talk to you guys. Doesn't really go with the theme of my story, but Kelly looks so good in hers. Oh, she said she's the only one.
No, you don't want to be.
Oh, she doesn't want. Okay, you guys can take my hat when I'm done. After accompanying Jackie through the deportation process for 2 months, I had to relinquish control. I watched him get on a bus to California, having no idea when he would make it back to his home country. Jackie and I met in late November, just before the ABQYAVs joined the Tucson YAVs in Mexico. The expected timeline for him to be in my care was 2 weeks. A month later, after 4 weeks of scrambling for supplies, trying to understand the deportation system, and trying to understand the deportation system he was currently working through, and trying to navigate airline pandemic restrictions, I was frazzled. My life before YAV had so often been a very controlled and organized space. I set my routines, I was familiar with my surroundings, and I was protected by a long-established community. Now, I was waist deep in waters I didn't understand, trying hard not to let Jackie or myself drown in the process. When COVID testing requirements changed, and Jackie now needed $400 of funds just to get on an airplane to his home country, we were tormented by an encroaching ICE deadline and a stark lack of access to the funds that Jackie had tucked away. Both of us went through a roller coaster of feeling hopeless and energized, lost and curious. I found Jackie a place to stay in California, where I knew he was closer to the resources that he needed, but we were already on borrowed time. I put Jackie on that bus, knowing full well that from this point forward, I could no longer be the resource I once was for him. Driving home from that bus station was the beginning of a journey of trust. From that point forward, the release of control had been one of my greatest challenges as a YAV. Being a type A person who treats herself by buying an organizer with her stipend money, I love the feeling of a neatly packaged in and out project. Navigating the immigration system in the US, as Jackie and I did, not nearly that neat. Relinquishing expectations of control is incredibly challenging. As I am now trying to find a job for post-YAV year here in Albuquerque, I am again forced to practice this release of control. Over and over again, I am reminded that there's freedom in this practice. Knowing that I don't have control gives me the flexibility to recognize alternative options, to imagine a path where I previously saw a wall, and to take steps instead of feeling stuck. So I stand here today, encouraged by an incredible community within this spectacular program, and excited for the steps that I get to explore. In the spaces where I'm practicing yielding control. Thank you.
Thank you, Savannah. Next up, coming in at 6'2" and a solid 180 pounds from North Carolina, Peter Gupton. Peter requested that introduction. No, you're good. Keep coming. Peter's been working this year with Lutheran Family Services Refugee and Israeli Resettlement.
I did ask Luke to give me a Chicago Bulls introduction, and I didn't think that would actually happen, but you nailed it. Names have power. They have meaning. Some pass down through generations. Some come from sacred texts. Some are chosen from cultural icons, characters in literature, historical figures, and singers. Some names last a lifetime, others are more fluid. But no matter what, they are our lifelines, the cornerstones of our identity. Through my time at Lutheran Family Services, a refugee resettlement agency in Albuquerque, I have had the privilege of engaging with people from dozens of countries around the globe. But with humanitarian crises growing daily in Afghanistan, Ukraine, the Congo, with Title 42, it is easy for a resettlement agency like our own to start drowning. How many more interpreters, employees, grants, and donations will we need to stay afloat? How can we know what to expect and when to expect it? It is a precarious time, and it is easy to feel backed against the wall. But 1 week ago, a client stopped by our office to see me because he needed help finding a car to purchase. His name is Abdullah, and his family arrived from eastern Afghanistan only 6 months ago. He's a kind, affable man, always eager to make small talk despite his very limited English. We had been talking for a while about other things when, mid-sentence, he interrupted me to ask what my name meant, what the meaning was. I was taken aback. It had been a long time since someone or anyone had asked me what Peter meant. In such an Anglo-centric and Christian-centric America, most people I interacted with knew the name Peter, Greek Petra, meant rock. They had also grown up hearing the gospel stories of Jesus giving it to the apostle Simon, because he would go on to be the foundation of the early Christian church. So to Abdullah, I responded, it means rock. His eyes widened, he put up his arms in a manner to show his biceps, and asked, strong? I shook my head and started to say something like, not necessarily, but I paused. How could I explain the meaning of my name to him without explaining the cornerstone of a 2,000-year-old religion, and without also mentioning that my name is really related to my great-grandfather and has more connection to my family than anything else? So instead, I passed the question to him, to which he smiled and proudly responded, Abdullah means servant of God. I felt embarrassed to have even asked for a moment, because I realized the end of his name was a variation of Allah, and even I, in all my ignorance of Islam and Afghan culture, could have guessed that part. But during that pause, Abdullah had taken out a sticky note and a pen, and was writing a note to give to someone else in the office. I saw that he was writing down his infant son's name, Hassan, and something clicked in my head. I had a flashback to last November when I had accompanied a case manager to the airport late one night to help him receive a family. I remembered sitting in the arrival area with the case manager, who, also from Afghanistan, was going over the list of names of the family we were receiving, pointing out their names one by one, explaining to me what they meant, how Hassan was the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad. He spent a half an hour reading me verses from the Quran and telling me stories about all the religious figureheads that shared names with members of the family. The family was Abdullah's. Their flight was canceled until the following day, so I never met him until he came to the office just last week. I realized this while he was writing his note. Hundreds of refugees have arrived since I began at Lutheran. Not once had I asked the about one of their names. Names steeped in generations of shared stories as ancient as Scripture. My own name, all the stories I grew up with, I realized those are just one drop in a very vast bucket. But it caused me to realize that as overwhelming as the world is right now, as little as we know about the people migrating to this place, we don't have to learn everything to build connections, but we can ask two simple questions. What is your name, and what does it mean?
Thank you, Peter. And just to clarify for everyone, for the sake of protecting identities of the families and people in our stories today, the names that we're using are not their names. Finally, we'll conclude with Emma. Emma is originally from Ohio and came here via college in Virginia. Emma waited a full year to be able to serve as an ABQYAV after the previous program year was canceled. And so after working in Virginia for a year, she was able to come and join us in Albuquerque. This year, Emma has been working at New Mexico Wild.
Hi, everyone. The sunshine gently rolls over the roof as water trickles out of my watering can. The watering can that, much to the chagrin of the Lowe's employees, Savannah and I spent what felt like hours tracking down the Lowe's closest to our house.
Yeah, we did.
The tomatoes begin to bloom, their leaves a deep green. A small lizard, its tail as bright blue as the turquoise found across the Mexican desert, whips across the soft soil of the raised bed in our backyard. I notice a new pea plant, its tiny head budding up from the deep bed trenches. These small moments, these are the ones that are easy to miss. It's Tuesday morning, the Roe v. Wade's preliminary decision was recently released, the intense internal turmoil hitting me like an ocean wave. I need to prepare my dinner recipe, find out who's grocery shopping, and make sure all the dishes are cleaned. The Tucson Yavs arrive soon. What needs to be done before they get here? Do we have enough bedding? What time does their plane get in? What about the planning committee for the anniversary party? I know Savannah printed some pictures, but there are enough. Which other ones should we print? I need to order the cake, vanilla or chocolate. Oh, and the shirt I wanted to wear today is spotted with dirt from last week's hiking trip. These are the thoughts that enter and quickly leave my brain as I ready myself to start the day. Not yet even thinking about work and the things I'll need to do to prepare for the week ahead. I tend to get caught up in the things that need to be done, the lists that need to be made, everything that feels unfinished. Unsurprisingly overwhelming, I normally find ways to drown out these thoughts. I scroll through Instagram, find some new show to binge. I heard Ted Lasso was good. But then, a few weeks ago, we created something new in our home. Savannah, Peter, Luke, and I, we used scrap wood from the painstakingly nailed ramp ripped out from the front of our house. Bagged soil purchased from the same Lowe's as the watering can, and a few seeds and starts collected from last year's crop in small garden shops. With these somewhat easy materials, we created a garden. Now, I don't mean a garden full of blossoming flowers and large groves. I am no old English woman determined to win best hydrangea in the annual flower show. But to me, our raised beds resting against the stucco wall in the backyard garage, and a few pots scattered around the house filled with blooming herbs, this feels like the best garden. Together, we created this small place of new life, and now it is ours to sustain, ours to tend, and ours to watch grow. Now every morning, rather than ignoring my overwhelming thoughts of chores and to-do lists with the endless blur of blue screen scrolling, I pause. I get out of bed, I put on my garden shoes, a delightful pair of knockoff Crocs sneakily stolen from the courtyard of First Presbyterian Church. I fill my hard-earned watering can in the laundry room sink, and I meander to the backyard. I lightly sprinkle water over the flourishing peas, the growing mixed greens, and the tiny pepper that I hope grows more now that the weather is warm and stable. I can feel myself breathing, appreciating the gentle breeze in the light sun. Of course, once my 20 minutes of watering is over, I'll need to go back inside, think about the laundry, my breakfast, and what to pack for lunch. But now, those things don't feel quite so overwhelming. I don't need to pretend the chores don't need done or dishes don't need washed. Not when in this moment, I can breathe. Breathe in the fresh morning air and appreciate the leaves springing up on my wonderfully tiny dill plant. These small moments, the ones that are easy to miss, these are the ones that make the day feel navigable, a day worth feeling.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, YAVs, for your vulnerability and authenticity in sharing your stories. It is these stories of transformation that inspire us as a program to continue to build for years to come. Years to welcome incredible young adults like this group to this space. From the beginning, this program has relied on the faithful support of our local churches and community. We've also enjoyed our partnership with the Presbyterian Mission Agency at PCUSA headquarters in Louisville. But it's important to note that with restructuring taking place in Louisville, the YAV program is not the priority it once was. Our funding is decreasing, our staffing has been cut. We're already seeing the effects of these changes, including losing a recruitment specialist position with lower application numbers for the 2022-2023 program year. We need now, more than ever, the consistent and sustained support of our local communities so that we can offer many more groups the opportunity to encounter transformation in this space. For those of you here in person, we invite you to stop by the donation balloon over here before you leave. For those watching online, please visit abqyav.com. You can go to the donate page and select a 5th anniversary gift from the drop-down tab. Regardless of the ways that you've given and supported this program, thank you for helping lift us into the next 5 years of ABQYAV. Let's give a hand. And so now at this point we want to celebrate the ways in which churches have already supported this. Individuals we know that you have supported as well. But over the past 5 years, we've had 13 different churches from our state answer the call to support this program. We call these churches sustaining partners. We've talked of the past 5 years as a journey. These churches have walked alongside us on that journey, sustaining our work and partnering with ABQYAV to offer a meaningful experience for growth and learning. So today we want to acknowledge that generous support from churches with a small gift. And so I'm going to read the list of 13 churches, 12 from the Presbytery of Santa Fe and 1 from our partner Presbytery de Cristo. And these churches have supported the YAV program over the past 5 years, at least once. That is Covenant Church ABQ, First United Church Las Vegas, Second Presbyterian Church Albuquerque, Las Placitas Presbyterian Church, First Presbyterian Church Albuquerque, La Mesa Presbyterian Church Albuquerque, Shepherd of the Valley Church Albuquerque, St. Andrew Presbyterian Church, Emmanuel Presbyterian Church, First Presbyterian Church of Silver City, First Presbyterian Church of Farmington, First Presbyterian Church of Taos, and First Presbyterian Church of Santa Fe. Let's give a hand to those churches. Each of those churches, we hope that you have someone here or we'll find a way to get you one of these beautiful thank yous to put on your wall and to remember us and to remember what we hope is an ongoing partnership as we continue to look forward. I also want to recognize for a brief moment the 4 churches that have given every year to the Albuquerque YAV program since our inception. Those 4 churches are Covenant Presbyterian Church, First United Church of Las Vegas, First Presbyterian Church Albuquerque, and Shepherd of the Valley Presbyterian Church. Let's give them a hand. To those churches that we've named, thank you so much for your support. We have one of these for each of you. I'm going to invite you to find Nelson. Nelson doesn't know he's about to be the person for this, but you're going to find Nelson, and we'll make sure you get one of these. Also important to name, just in full transparency, I might have missed a church. So if you think your church has given to ABQYAV in the last 5 years, please let me know, and we'll correct our records. Friends, it has been a gift to share time with you this afternoon, and I want to take a second to recognize the planning team that made this event happen and the folks who've been working hard and showing up for a lot of meetings. And so if the planning team would please stand as I read your names. Nelson, Kelly, Craig is not with us, but we know he's with us in spirit. Kim, Takako, Torino, Emma, and Savannah, please stand up, y'all. We want to recognize you. Thank you, planning team. Thank you to First Presbyterian Church for hosting us today. Thank Matt Miller's over there. Give a wave, Matt. We appreciate that and the hard work of the lots of folks, Rike's around, that have helped set up and create this space for us this afternoon. Lastly, I want to encourage you to stay and hang out. This is once again going to be a photo booth once we make it pretty again. You saw the number of hands of YAV alumni that are present. Chat with them, find out where they served. Chat with our YAVs from this year. I also want to name that Drew Hill over there in a green shirt is going to be a YAV next year in DC, so we're excited about that. And we want to make sure at some point in time you walk across the street to see, you can see the pictures on the back table of the transformation that has taken place at the YAV house. We want you to go see that in person. It is a beautiful space. The YAVs have worked really hard on it. So at some point, we're just going to send a delegation across the street for a little tour and hello. And so make sure you enjoy that space. And there's chickens.
Yeah.
So if there wasn't a field before, there is now. Finally, we have some ABQYAV t-shirts to sell over here. That is a little bit of a fundraiser as well, and a great way to look good supporting this important program. So please go and visit Tiffany over there before you leave to pick up an ABQYAV t-shirt. And I think that's all for now. Friends, it is a gift to be with you. We so appreciate your support, and we hope to be doing this again for many years to come. So let's give a hand for the ABQYAV program.